Workplace abuse affects the entire family. It became a catalyst for change for Tiana Bunnell Mumford after working in the healthcare industry for over 25 years. Great performance reviews didn't hold a candle to the company's narrative. That's when Tiana knew it was time to divorce her job. How do you feel emotionally about not going to work every day the way you used to for what? Over 20 years?
Emotionally, I am well now. Okay. It was kind of hard, for me emotionally, mentally, physically, Let's just talk about all of those. I thank God for one for support system, one for prayers and just the wholeness. I am well. I'm well within my soul. I'm well because I am not, I'm not crying. And let's just be clear. My last role was remote. Okay. So I was in my home
And still dealing with the microaggressions in your home?
in my home. So, and that was the rather the jacked up part because I'm really transparent. Okay. That
Keep
was
it
the
real.
jacked up part about it because I had a little epiphany within myself. I'm like, wait a minute. There's no way that I'm going to be in my home going through this foolishness. When I know that something is not right, it just doesn't sit well with me. If I did something, I'm gonna tell you. Okay. I hold myself accountable. All right. That's anybody who knows me professionally will tell you that yes, if I did something, I'm gonna tell you. So if I, say for instance, if a nurse, because I had to connect with nurses and nurses had to basically call patients, and if I double book someone, I'm going to be the one. I'm not going to have the nurse to do it because the nurse didn't call the patient. Tiana did. So I am going to say, you know what? Hey, let me make it right because that is the type of
That
person
was
I am.
You know what? I love the fact that you said that because it brings up the notion when people wonder about workplace bullying and why it happens, but who it happens to. I am finding out, and studies show that it always happens to those people like you and me who are ethical, who hold ourselves accountable, who don't mind saying, "You got me. That's on me. Let me make it right." We're
Yes.
the people who they really want to be, but they can't be. They're the ones who blame other people for their failures. It's other people, it's never them. But
Never.
yet, it's never them. It's never them. But I love the fact that you said that because for those people who are watching, who are going through this, they're probably asking themselves, like we both did, well, why me? Why me? Why me? I'm a great person. I'm doing a great job. My performance reviews are amazing. So why are they picking on me? It's because they really want to be you. They really want to be you. And they're afraid of the kind of person that you are because you are a stand-up person to yourself ethically and there's integrity and they're afraid of you holding them accountable. Let's talk about that.
And it's crazy because I can recall when all of it shift because they were moving people around and people positions were being um basically at risk. They were taking folks' jobs. They took my job, they, chopped it up, gave it to someone else, took that person's job, chopped it up, gave it to me. I realized this. When your job is being taken and you're stepping in a role that you've never done, it can be scary. You take someone who's never, who doesn't have the clinical experience, mind you, 23 and a half years clinical experience, and give it to someone else who don't even feel comfortable, then that's probably when people start making up stuff. And the
Mhm.
bad part is like all my accusers and all of that. Like one main person I trained. Never once, because we are women. And to me, if I offended you, come to me.
Right,
Come to
right.
me and tell me I'm a woman. Integrity. I would say, you know what? I'm sorry. I didn't mean it that way. But for you to go behind my back and then there's secret meetings.
Girl, not the secret meetings.
And, mind you, I was on the FMLA. So then when I come back, Then it's, oh, we have all these quadrillion meetings that I have to attend that I have no idea. And then I'm like, no. And it just was a snowball effect. I turned my notice in May. And I'm like, you know what? I told my husband, I said, I can't do this. I can't. I'm racking up on my therapist bills. Mind you, at that point in time, I wasn't just dealing with my job, but my mother and grandmother was sick. So I'm running back and forth to two major hospitals. And by the way, this is a major hospital that I work for. I won't say no names, but this is a major corporation in Indianapolis, and I'm running back and forth because my mother and grandmother, again, I was their advocate, their
Yeah.
caregiver, on top of dealing with a job where I'm being falsely accused or trying to break down my professionalism and all the 23 and a half years being in this company. I never once got a evaluation. I got my stuff pulled, honey, where people were saying, oh, you're unprofessional. Never, never. I have
Never. And you're
this,
like, that's a lie.
that's
That's a
a
lie.
lie.
And that's a lie.
Yes, physicians, pharmacists, because I held two rows. No one, everybody. You better ask someone and pull. Not that I'm tooting my own horn, but I
But
am who I am.
toot your horn, because I toot my horn. I tell people all the time, anybody who knows me from when I was in high school, let me go back to junior high. I am always the girl. Let me go back to fourth grade. I was always diligent, all the way, my entire life, my entire college career, my professional career that began at 21 years old. Everybody who knows me knows if Andrea's going to be on something in a group project, she's going to get it done. So
Yeah,
just come on. So to sit there and lie on me, that is like the worst offense ever. Don't lie on me. Don't lie on me in my work ethic.
no, not when it comes to my work and they're saying, oh, you're unprofessional. Then the next minute, oh, your patients love you. They can't love an unprofessional person.
You got to the point where you're like, okay, I see the shenanigans and the tomfoolery, and you're like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and just put in my notice because this isn't worth it to me. Did you have someplace else to go after that?
I did not. Because typically, because this is not the first time that something foolery has happened within the
Mhm.
organization. And typically, I will always have, because I had two roles within that network, I typically would have that cushion. I did not have a cushion this time. However, my husband seen the change in me. He's seen the stress.
Mhm.
Again, mind you, I was working from home, remote, in my safe haven.
How are you going to be stressed when you're at home? I mean, that's what a lot of people love, is to be able to work remotely, thinking that the micro and macro aggressions will be lessened. And it just seems as if in your case, it was exacerbated.
You can hide behind a computer. Finally, in May, this was May, after meeting, I was on so many meetings per
Mm.
and I'm like, oh my gosh, on top of training, remember, they chopped their jobs up, training for another job. A lot of stress. So my husband said, you know what? We've been together for 20 plus years. I know your work ethics. I know that you put this notice in and someone will grab you up just because it's proven it has happened before. So I put my notice in and put the notice in, and then that was a Friday. Next thing I know, let me work a full shift Monday, and then Tuesday, it says on my computer after I've called several people, you have been restricted. So never seen that before. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to reach out to the IT folks. Got booted out, you know, and here I am today. So we did the EEOC, we did all of that, did the attorney. But I'm just like, you know what? I don't want to drag this. And I could have pursued because I had the rights to. I did.
When you say pursue, you mean the right to sue
Pursue.
them.
Absolutely. I could have. But you know what? Did I want to go 2 more years of my life, keep reliving it, because you are reliving it every time. And every time, even when my attorney would say, hey, I need this, or we would have to look at the 20-page documents they sent in that my attorney had to pick apart. And I had to say, oh, so they lied, more. I didn't want that drama or trauma. I don't want to go 2 more years dealing with this. So
Yeah.
no, I'm going to let God deal with those false accusers who
Mm-hmm.
try to really tear me down, and for their own whatever reason. You know, God knows who I am. All the people I've worked with, I have cards behind me you may not be able to see, from patients, from years and years of how I've made a difference. I have friends who I've become who are providers who say, I still miss the way that you are with patients, the way that you've charted, the way that you've done blood pressures and all of that. So no, even though they try to tear me down, because that's basically, what
That's
they try to tear people down. But you definitely no, work for a little bit, but now nope, you can't have it. You can't have my peace. You can't have my joy.
mm.
Bye. It was a messy divorce. That's how I explain it to people.
Yeah, people don't realize that when you're going to work, it is a relationship.
It is. I mean, we're talking about sacrifices, my kids and husband and all that. And it's not, let me just be clear, it's not the whole organization, because I've had some fabulous supervisors, who could attest to the way my character is, professionally and even outside of it. Let's just be clear. I'm an author, so I already had that business. I neglected it because I've spent so much time building and working
For somebody else.
somebody else, So now I'm like, okay. One of my good girlfriends told me this. She said, you know what, we're gonna pray and we're gonna see what God has for you, and take all
Amen.
that you've given that company and you're gonna put into your own. And that's exactly what I did. So then I started me a DBA, and it's healthcare training. And that's what I've been doing. So I am happy. I can finally do what I want to do. I love to teach. If I don't want to do assignment, I don't have to.
There are so many people who want to, it's not even just about being an entrepreneur, but who are unwilling to step out on their own because we're so used to working for someone else and making them rich and making them prosperous. And there's a level of being a little afraid. There's a lot of fear stepping out onto your own. What's your biggest advice for someone who's watching and they have a passion? They've been wanting to do it for a long time, but they're afraid to step away from the abusive relationship at work and to follow their passion because they got bills to pay. Let's keep it real. You were talking about your livelihood, and I understand you. It's hard to walk away from that. But what's your biggest advice for someone who's looking to become an entrepreneur, but they're a little afraid to do so?
Okay, yes, because it was, and it's scary, and it still is. I'm not going to even lie to you; it's still scary.
Mhm.
But it does take a lot of faith. It takes a lot of support. It takes a lot of networking with other entrepreneurs, just people who can say, "Hey, you know what? I've been there." One good thing that my therapist, which therapist is good, everyone,
Yes.
therapist, he said, TT, you being able to, I'm a risk taker, let's just be clear, you being able to step out, because here's the thing, if you stay stuck, how will you ever grow? And I know that people, it's not changing. Yes, your finances and everything, but even if you would just take one little pink toe into the water, just to take a little step to see. And that, to me, you got to think mental health, because it's so real. Your mental health, your peace. But here's the thing, listen, if you would die on that job, they're gonna backfill it. And some, they might not even send you roses or your family and everything, because it's all about who's in that seat. Think about your well-being, okay, your wholeness, your mental, your emotional. Think about it. And yes, we do have bills, and it is scary. But what's more scarier? My children, my husband not having the whole me, you know, or I'm sitting up for stress, because it does. It spills off into your marriage. It spills off into your kids. It spills out. You just be snapping for no reason, because the root of it is because you're in this environment.
And you're stressed out.
You're stressed out. You're feeling stuck, because you do. You feel stuck. When you're in there, you're feeling stuck. And you're like, oh man, I got these bills. But you know what? I'm going to take a leap of faith. I'm going to take a leap of faith, even if it's as small as a mustard seed, and see where it becomes. Or, you know, if you're in this situation, if you can try to get out. And some people like, oh, the pay, yes, yes, because I did have a really good income, a really, really good income. But again, my health is more important than income.
In part 2, Tiana talks about her legal journey against her former employer.